So he told Mama, he said, Mama, get an old ragged old blanket or something other that I can put over that board he's sitting on to hang down, because said them old wild hogs said if his feet hang down there, they'll eat him up.
I bet his was you.
Boy, you think I wasn't scared? Well, sure
He
enough.
was a son, but he wouldn't damn daughter-in-law.
Sure enough, they loaded them old hogs up in that
Where did
wagon.
they kill them?
Well, I was going to take them back and put them in a pen and fatten them up and kill them.
Oh.
And with the, man, I was scared to death. I didn't just let my feet hang down. I stuck them in the crack of that end gate up yonder and held them up there, boy.
No, that's right.
And by the time we got from the hog pen through the woods back to the barn
even know
to
that
unload them hogs, they had ate that blanket that Mama had. Papa, he nailed it to that board. But it was hanging down here, and they couldn't see my feet, you know. But that old blanket got to moving, and here they'd come in there, just get a mouthful of that blanket.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd jump up on top of that end gate. And we finally got home, but they didn't have no blanket. Now that blanket, they just had, they
Gone.
ate it up. And if they,
That could have been
well,
your
they ate
feet.
my feet up if I hadn't
Yeah,
put them
yeah,
up
they
on.
probably would.
How old were you whenever you were doing that?
Pretty tough.
Huh?
How old were you when you were doing that?
Oh God, I don't have no idea.
Young, I mean, like this little
I
bitty
was-
kid, or
I was probably about 12, maybe 12 or 13. And I know one time it was a snowing and it was a sleeting. And Mama bought 2 irons, you know, them old hand irons.
Yeah.
Y'all may not know what that
I
is.
knew
It's no hand.
I ironed their
She
clothes
bought
with
2 of
them.
them out there and they was wrapped up in towels.
Uh-huh.
And she said, now you keep your feet on them, you know, because it was snowing. And that's what I did, but you know, after about 4 hours, them things was cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had them hogs pinned up. And I thought my feet, my old toes was plumb blue.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have
Frostbite.
good shoes or good socks.
Uh-huh.
By the time we got back home, my feet hurt so bad when Mama started throwing them out, I just cried. I couldn't help it. Man, it hurt.
But I imagine
Hurts
they
though,
got
man.
frostbite.
When me and her got married, I took her with us on one round, but they wasn't wild hogs, but you kept your feet out of their way. She went with me through the woods one time. And Papa killed a cow. Every year he killed the oldest cow he had.
That was the right
And
thing
he'd
to
make
do.
us get that hide out there and cut holes in it and drive stakes down in it and let the sun cure it. And then that's what he would make shoestrings and hamstrings and leather for the farm and all that out of. Anyway, he killed this old cow and he had a cooker and Uncle Hal Connor at Huntington had a cooker. So he said, well, Kelly, you and I will take the wagon team and go up there to Hal's and tell him I want to borrow his cooker because we're gonna need 2 cookers down here. Well, that's 9 miles or better. And we had to go through, now this was a wagon road. It wasn't, it wasn't just anybody's road.
Yeah.
Some of them trees, the hubcap was just barely knocked the bark off of some of them trees, you know, as you went by. And she was with me. And we took a shortcut. And we got up there and we got the cooker. And Aunt Essie gave us some tea cakes. You remember that?
No, I don't remember the tea cakes.
Well, she did. She gave us a whole sack full of tea cakes.
Mm.
I bet we had them all going back.
We ate tea cakes all the way back. Now, it was going to kill these cows next day. We killed them cows. And she was with us. We stayed up all night long.
Wow.
From sun up to sundown, canning and cutting meat, frying, boiling cow meat. But I'll tell you, I'd give a $10 bill now just for 1 can of that.
Well, I don't ever remember Daddy ever butchered a cow.
Oh, yes, he did. Didn't he? He done that after me and you got married.
Well, I sure don't remember. I remember he would
Even
butcher.
me and her killed one.
He'd butcher a goat sometimes.
No, me and her killed a cow when we lived in that house right there with y'all.
Well, I don't remember that.
We did. Didn't we, honey?
Well,
Yeah.
you killed your hogs, right, every year to make the soap and stuff like that?
Well, I was out there doing the skinning the best I could, you know. Didn't hang it up. Pop said, hey, boy, I didn't know where to skin a cow. And I don't remember that. He showed me, you know, when you skin them, you lay that hide back down there and you get on the other side, then you lay the cow back on his own skin to keep him out of the dirt. And then
Yeah, he was a smart old man.
you
Yeah, man.
then you hang them
Sound
up and gut and all that kind of stuff. That was my Nana's cow.
I just don't remember him butchering
That
a
was
cow.
mine, your cow.
Mine, yours.
We ate our own cow.
Yeah.
Did that put us out of the cow business?
No, we had one
You
more
was
left.
out of cow business.
We had one more left. Oh, Fanny Merle Ivy, always wanted, she just worried me to death. She wanted me to go with her so bad, she just hung on to me just like a little old cat. And I didn't like Fanny Merle. She was big, fat, and ugly. And
She really was.
I was going with Nina.
She really was.
I was going with Nina, and you know, where the road, Nina and them lived down that road towards Roy Cox, and we had to turn right and go by the graveyard.
Yeah.
So Fanny Merle lived up that way too. Fanny Merle said, "Here's a turn Nina loose," and said, "You take me home." I
Oh,
said, "No, I can't do that." No.
pretty good walk too, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I took Nina home. Well, after me and Nina got married, I went to you had to see where your hog was at, you know, every so often, see what neighborhood of the woods is in. Well, I had to go to Fanny Merle's house, and she was sitting out there on the porch.
Lord have mercy, I bet you.
And
This is bring from me
Yeah.
here, wasn't it?
"Hey, get down. Come in," said, "I'll pour you a good cold drink of water." I said, "Where you gonna get a cold drink of water? There ain't no ice no closer than 9 miles. She said, "Well, I'll get it out of the well." I said, "I don't want no water." She said, "Well," she said, "you could get out and come in." She said, "Ravenley's her brother. And Jeff was her daddy." She said, "Jeff and Ravenley's way over yonder in the field working." Said, "Ain't nobody here but me." So I kind of got the idea. I said, "I better go hunt them hogs." That's exactly what I did. I went on. I swear to God, I went on. And when I got home that evening, I unsaddled the horse and I walked out there in that little old shotgun house. And I was standing in the door, down on both sides like this. She had a suitcase down there. And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "I want you to take me to Mama's." "I take you to Mama's?" I said, "Well, I ain't gonna take you to Mama's." I said, "What you doing with that?" She said, "I'm leaving." She said, "Fanny Merle come by in there and told me what you done."
Oh,
She probably came up there just so she could
yeah.
see what you was doing come by before you did, so she could tell me.
I said, "Well, what did she tell you I done?" She said, "You know." I said, "Well, Fanny Merle told you a damn lie." I said, "And we'll just go prove it. You just go with me and I'll whoop her butt." And I said, "Now, if that don't do it, just pack me a suitcase and I'll just go with you." Because I said, "I ain't living with Fanny Merle." Now, she done that. Now, why she did that, I have no idea unless she thought,
Well, she wanted to run her off where
Yeah,
she
she
could get
did.
you.
That's right.
That was it.
man, she just, I couldn't get away from her.
You know, I've forgotten what her older brother's name was. I know there was,
Ravenley.
I know there was Evie and Ben Davis.
Ravenley, too.
Yeah, but I've forgotten what her older brother's name was.
Well,
He got killed.
I can remember.
Yeah, a car wreck somewhere.
Well, what about Evie?
I don't know.
I heard he had wound up in prison.
I don't know.
And then I heard Ben Davis, well, he and I are about the same age. I heard he wound up in either San Francisco or Los Angeles or someplace. He was somehow a big contractor out there.
Well, I know one thing. Old Fanny Merle run after me. It was just down. I just hated her almost. You know she's still living?
No, I didn't know she's still living.
Wherever Sharon is now, the way I got this, James is going to meet somebody down at the Dairy Queen down there to buy a house trailer or boat trailer or something. And they went in there and had something to eat, and there was a big old girl in there, and they got to talking, and that girl that was the manager of that place was Fanny Merle's daughter.
Oh, really?
And James was CK's son.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I know. Now, Fanny Merle has had a stroke, and she's wheelchair bound, but she lives at Serum, and she lives. They said you'd have to get a helicopter to get in there to it.
Oh.
I think her daughter is the one that's taking care of it. But anyway, if I've told you this before, you stop me. When James and I was working on some land down there at Huntington, we stopped at that cafe.
Oh, and she asked.
Have you heard it? Have I heard it?
She probably has, but we
Somebody come in and slapped me between the shoulder like that, and I like jumped off that through, and it was Fanny Merle.
Oh, my
And there was a girl standing by her, looked just like her, just as big and ugly. Both of them had a tooth going out the front, you know. And she said, Kelly Connor. And she sat down on the stool right by me. I said, well, I'll buy y'all lunch. She said, no, I said, our lunch is already paid for. And she said, well, is that your son? I said, yes. She said, well, introduce me. I said, James, I said, this is Fanny Merle, the girl I was raised up with. And Fanny Merle said, this is my daughter right here. And she said, looked at James, she said, you may not know it, but I like to be your mama. Do you know I like to fell off that stool?
Good thing, yeah.
Nobody said anything else, but we got up and left.
Lord.
And James said, nice to meet you. And he just kept walking, and we was riding down the road. He said, you know, Daddy, he said, it's a damn good thing she wasn't. He said, if she had been, he said, I'd have killed you and her. He said, I ain't ever seen nothing that ugly in my life. Said, I've seen cows with a prettier face than that.
Well, somebody's saying about
I
something
didn't
about
realize that Fanny Merle was that ugly.
Oh, boy.
Well, that's what James said
I
anyhow.
don't remember
Got that
much.
one.
But you do know Alma Russian.
Yeah, I remember her.
Her. She's the one that I could go to all them dances, and I would dance and went to Uncle Joe's. That's who they live with, Uncle Joe Smith art.
Yeah, I remember him.
And I was sitting over there, and he said, "By hokies, Kelly, get over here. You got to dance. They don't nobody come to my house that don't dance." I said, "Well, Uncle Joe." Everybody called him Uncle Joe. I said, "Uncle Joe, I wouldn't even know how." He said, "Alma, teach that boy how to dance. Ain't nobody gonna come here that don't dance." And I don't know how many times I stepped on her foot, but before it was all, the night was over with, we got to where we was doing fairly good. I wasn't stepping all over. I'd bump her every once in a while, you know. Well, the next time, Steve Phillips give a dance. And we walked. I mean, you walked that place. I don't know, what, 6, 7 miles. Well, we got over there with Alma. She said, "You're mine. Ain't nobody gonna dance with you but me." That's all right with me. You know, I didn't know there was we danced, and when we got through, she was going to stay all night with them Phillipsboro, see? But I had to walk all the way home. And I went to every dance. She danced for me every time. But she would not date me. I couldn't get a date with her to save my soul. But she was the best thing in the world. We'd go to
Yeah,
them
but
parties.
if you hadn't lied in front of her so much, she might have
Seen this man, but I don't know what his name was. But anyway, he was down there. And he was running his hand around the stump there.
Oh, boy.
And a water moccasin beat him. And they said he died. But I don't know who he was.
Pretty close.
You ever hear anything about that? Jody knew him, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't know who it was. Anyway, what else?
I
He
forgot a
died.
whole lot of stuff when I was a kid. A lot of stuff. Some things I can remember and some I can't.
Marshall Lowry bought that place. And after he'd been there 30 years, I think, he told Papa, before Papa died, he said, "Uncle Bob, you can't guess what I found down there under the barn." I said, "No." He said, "I had a little old feist dog. He just hated rats, and said if one went in the hole, he'd dig a hole there and he could get in." And he said he dug into the top of an old half a gallon fruit jar. I didn't know they made a half a gallon fruit jar.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, I have one. I just got
Anyway.
one. Yeah.
He said, I scraped the dirt off of it, got a shovel, dug it up, and it was a half a gallon of whiskey.
Oh,
Oh,
Pure old white whiskey.
yeah.
He said, and I know Uncle Bob made whiskey.
Some white lightning.
And I know he must have hid it.
Yeah.
And he told Papa about it. Papa said, Marshall, he said, I'll give you $50 for that. He said, Uncle Bob, I wouldn't give you that. I wouldn't give you that for nothing. Said, you might get drunk and kill yourself. And he wouldn't give it to him. I don't know what he ever done. I guess he poured it out. But you know, I
Sister
can
Lee
remember,
wasn't gonna let him drink it probably.
Marshall was a Pentecostal preacher.
Well, I know that.
Well,
And Sister Lee and I'm sure wasn't gonna let him be drinking no whiskey.
He might have got it.
you know, I don't know how old we was. You know, I remember when Papa made whiskey down at that old place. It was right on the edge of a river.
Well,
And,
now y'all say that your daddy had beer and whiskey and stuff. Then why, if he had stuff there that he had, why was he always going on Saturday nights over to the river or whatever? I thought that's where they
No,
went
it
to
wasn't
get-
on Saturday nights. It's
Oh.
whenever he would go to town. He would go on across the river. And when he got back down there at Orr, he was usually drunk.
Well,
Now, what did he buy, whiskey or wine? I don't know.
I don't know, but this particular time,
Like,
I don't know even why I went with him.
Now, this
But
was
it-
after he was married to Big Mama.
Now I know it. Now, when after I got going, I knew it was a whiskey still.
Yeah.
But then, to me, it wasn't anything. You know, I didn't know anything about it, but I know it had some coiled up coils and it was running something in jugs and you
Yeah.
put
Well, did he
tops on
sell
and
it?
all that kind of stuff. And
Or did he farm down there?
well, he made whiskey too.
But did he
It-
sell it?
Well, I don't know. But anyway, he had a little old dog guy. And boy, that dog took off. Through the wood, just hair all on his back. And Papa, he grabbed me. And you remember, you got to remember.
Kelly, I
He-
wasn't even born.
Wait a minute. Well, he had a copper, he had a 10-gallon or a 15-gallon copper bucket. Solid copper. And we used it for a feed bucket when we moved up there into the last house up there where that we lived in. But anyway, it was just wrinkled. It just many wrinkles in it you couldn't have possibly straightened it out.
oh,
And one time I asked Papa about that. He said, well, do you remember, son, one time old Spot took off through them woods and I grabbed you in that bucket? It had some corn mash or something in it that was hot, real hot. I said, yeah. And he said, you remember we jumped off that bluff in the river? I had you by the hand. I said, yeah, I remember that. I said, I couldn't swim, but you told me to hang on to your neck. He said, well, that copper can was hot, and when we hit that water, it just...
no kidding. Did that, yeah. Boy, it was.
Now, I know that for a fact.
Well, now
Of
why'd
course, I
y'all
don't
do
remember
that?
what-
Were y'all trying to get away from somebody?
Yeah.
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 Revenue men.
So the dog was the
revenue
alarm
man-
system, huh?
He had that old dog trained, I guess, to notify him. I don't know. I was just a kid. And we
Now,
right
how am I
at the
supposed to
river.
remember that when I wasn't even born?
Well, you ought to hear about it.
Yeah,
Something.
yeah,
I know
I
one
know.
thing. We was running when we got up there. Oh, it looked like it was 100 feet down out of that water. I said, what we gonna do? Man, here we went.
Right on in.
I come up with squirting water and he said, hang on to my neck. And he went back and got that can.
Hmm.
I don't know how he got it, but he went
Yeah.
back and got that can and it was just all
Out of
wrinkled
the
up.
river?
Yeah. And that can was right there at that house. That's what we fed horses out
How'd
of.
he straighten it out?
He didn't.
He did, that's
No.
what he was saying. It still had wrinkles in it.
He couldn't straighten it out. And I remember Papa telling it. Now, I wasn't with it, but he said they thought they were so
I
damn
don't
smart.
remember them things.
They could deputize me, and he said, I got out there on my belly and hand, and he like they did, and I crawled all night, but I never did find no whiskey.
Why was
Didn't
they
make a
looking for Uncle Bunyan?
Because he was bootlegging whiskey.
Well, I've always heard he was a horse thief. Uncle Bunyan.
I don't know. I know
He
he
was
made
smart.
whiskey.
Well, what
Horse thief.
happened? What happened at one time?
Horse
I don't remember. Daddy
Oh.
cut his throat, or he sewed up his throat and had leaves in it, or something down by the old church house on a flatbed truck. I've heard that story, but I don't remember it.
Well,
And I heard that Uncle Bunyan was a horse thief. No, well, I don't know.
he was a bootlegger. I never did know him stealing the horse. I know he stole, you know, back in the old days, people didn't have banks.
Yeah.
Well, our granddaddy, Papa's daddy, hid his money in the smokehouse, an old log smokehouse. Uncle Bunyan was watching him, so he went there that night and dug it up. He stole it.
Ooh.
Maybe that's why they called him a horse
That'd be
thief.
terrible. Work all week and
So
bury your money and go
Papa
back
found
on
it
Sunday
out,
to
so
get
he
it. Here
saddled
they
up a
go.
horse and he went over to Bunyan, Uncle Bunyan, which that was his brother-in-law now.
I know.
He told him, he said, Bunyan, I know you got that money. He said, I'm gonna give you in the morning the sun up to have that money back right where you got it. He said, if it ain't there, get your gun and load it, cause I'm coming at you.
James, can you set a chair?
Well, the next morning, the money was there. But Uncle Bunyan never did like Papa. He hated his guts after that.
Thank you, though.
Well, I remember a story about something about Daddy sewing up his neck down there around the old church or something, and on a flatbed truck. Now, what it's all about, I think maybe Daddy and Uncle Bunyan both was drunk. I don't know.
I don't know, but the night them Adams just killed him, I do know this, Papa was out there. I don't know why he took me out there, but I was just real small. I
Now,
said,
why was Adams after him?
well, Miss Adams come to the back door and was gonna ask her husband and son to come in, church was about to start,
Yeah.
and he cussed her for a real bad word. He cussed her pretty bad.
Who, Bunyan or her husband?
Uncle Bunyan
Oh.
cussed Adams' wife. So Adam went to the store, Tom Youngblood had the store, and he went down there after a shotgun. While he was gone, Uncle Bunyan got out there with a pole, and he beat the headlights out, and the windshield out, and everything of that old T-Model. Well, when Adam was coming back up the road, Mr. Adam was feeling of the gun to see how easy it was on the trigger, and it went off and shot up. And I remember Uncle Bunyan saying, "Shoot, you son of a bitch, you missed me." But he run in the church house. And Papa was down there at his truck, and he was sharpening up his old big pocket knife. Well, Uncle Bunyan come by and told him, said, you need to be sharpening that up. Said, you ain't gonna get close enough to put that in me. Papa said, I am if you mess with me. And he just kept sharpening his knife. Well, Uncle Bunyan went back around and got in the church house. Well, Adams had done got up here and was shining a flashlight through the window. But Uncle Bunyan had a hold of the door, and half of the door, they could just see half of it. And the first time they shot him, they didn't knock him down. He told them, shoot again, you missed me. And he pulled the door a little bit round further to where they couldn't shoot him. But what he didn't think about, they moved to another window. And the last time they shot him in the back, but
Yeah.
they killed him there. I know that. Man, you never heard as many women screaming and
That-
hollering and crying all
You know,
over
Lanelda Fay and Loretta, well, their grandmother, Aunt Ruby, was our daddy's sister, and she was married to Uncle Bunyan McClure.
They had one
Sounded like
son.
bad news.
Oh, that McClure, that was the guy that was down at the
Reunion.
reunion.
Gerald Reunion.
Who?
Gerald
McClure?
How's Gerald McClure related to Aunt Ruby or in Bunyan?
Well, you know, Aunt Ruby had Charlie McClure. You remember? You remember that? Her and Uncle Bunyan only had one child, and it was Charlie.
I forgot.
Is
I
it
guess.
both in this
I
house?
just can't remember.
Aunt
Well,
Leslie's back there.
I thought they had a.
They're telling these old dirty tales now.
Well, Aunt Ruby was Bertha Porter's mother.
Well, and Charlie was her brother then. Charlie was.
So Charlie's son is this McClure that was at the family reunion?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Charlie was in the hospital up there, and I don't know why I went up there that night, but I did. And then you could smoke anywhere you want to smoke. Well, I rolled a boiled urn, that's all I could afford, you know. I lit her up, and Charlie said, "Would you roll me one of them?" I said, "Sure will." I rolled him one, lit it, gave it to him. He said, "I ain't supposed to smoke," but he said, "I won't." I did. And I went home that night, and he died that night. I was the last person he saw.
Now aren't you
Now,
ashamed?
why I went, I don't know. But he
What? He must have died when I was real young or something. I really don't remember him.
did. Well, I don't know where me and you, I don't know if we lived in that rent house or if it was the first house we bought.
I don't either.
But it could have been, that was in the 60s. I don't remember.
If it'd been some of your sister's house, you'd know it was their house.
Well, he died because me and you looked at his name down there yesterday, Harrington Cemetery. And that was Aunt Ruby's son.
Man, y'all live this old guy about 50 years like I have, and you'll get so tired of that you won't stay on him.
Well, see, it's all new to us, so we're wanting to hear it all. Sorry about that.
Well, I'll tell you, next time I want to go someplace, could I bring him by and leave him
You
with you?
betcha. You betcha.
You'll be ready for him to come home, 'cause he'll never give you a chance to say yeah or no.
When we lived
He
down
just
on the river,
sit
you
there and
wasn't
listen.
born.
Yeah, I
When
wasn't
we lived
born.
down on the river, Uncle Bunyan was a fisherman, plus a bootlegger.
Yeah.
He come by there. It was originally a T-model car, but they had cut half of it in two and took the back half off and built a little bed on it. And he come by there, and he didn't like Papa, and Papa didn't like him. Anyway, he come by there and stopped. He said, told Papa, I said, "I know you don't like me." He said, "I don't care if you do or not." He said, "I want to show that boy these catfish I caught." I just a little bitty old car. We walked out there. Now I don't know how long that bed was, but it was a half old T-model cut half in two. But them catfish, he had two of them, and he had their heads tied up here behind his seat, and their tail was hanging off of the back end of it about that
Oh
much.
my gosh.
There was the biggest fish I ever in my life seen. And he said, told Papa, he said, "If you was worth a damn, you could catch fish like this too." And they got into an argument.
Agitate.
They got into an argument and got into a fight, and Papa had about 15 beehives out here and a little fence about that high. Well, they got out there and they got to fighting, wrestling around, and fell over in there among them bees and knocked the beehive over. And boy, I set sail. I knew what them bees would do. I said, "Mama," I said, "they fighting out there." And she went to the porch and she said, "My God," I said, "them bees are killing." But they finally got out and fought out and got the bees off of them. And he asked me, he said, "Boy," said, "you want to go stay all night with me?" I was scared of him as I was a bear. I said, "No." I went up and I got Mama the drip tail. I said, "Mama, don't let me go. I'm scared of him."
Oh my God.
And she didn't let me go. I was scared of him.
Was Jesse born then? In the old river house?
That's right. Go away.
Well, see, it was 5 or 6 years later
I
that I was
remember-
born.
Lessie, we was out there playing tag. And you know, you've seen dirt sometime, it had old green, fuzzy looking moss skin all over it.
Yeah.
Well, that's where a spot was next to the well, and we was playing tag. And Leslie was chasing me, and I run into that, and I slipped and fell down. And I thought it broke my arm, but it didn't.
You're
Bruised my
hoping it
heel.
did.
And Uncle No, Papa got drunk one time. And we had an old mule, an old one-eyed muley called Maud. And you know how them old long steps was? I'm talking about long steps. Where the steps were just as wide as the hall was that went through the house. On both ends of the house. And Papa was out there, was drunk, trying to ride that mule up them stairs, and Mama whooping that mule in the head with
Trying to beat him off.
with something, I don't know what it was. And finally, the old mule threw Papa off, and he couldn't get up. We had to go hit him butt.
That's back when you go to
That ain't a
town,
horse
and
ride?
come home and get drunk and go down to the barn. Now, I don't know if he kept a jug down there or not, but I know one time
Probably.
He kept home brew down there.
he was drunk and he was coming to the house, and there was a big old tree of some sort down there on the other, between the barn and the house on the other side of the road going toward the barn.
Yeah.
This billy goat got him pinned up down there.
Yeah.
Neville is going around and he's down there hollering,
Yeah.
you know, and he's going around that tree and he was drunk and that goat was chasing him around that tree. And I don't know if the goat ever got him or not.
What? Yeah, but he had his old knife out. He had an old knife out on, you know. He had his knife out and he was trying to cut that goat's throat. But every time that he'd get the knife up there, that old goat would throw his horns down like that, and knife would hit his horns, you know. After a while, he got to holler, "Hey boys, come here!" Talk about Jody and Melvin.
Yeah.
"Hey boys, come here!" That old goat was just about to get him when they got down there.